Well, friends, what is up? It's good to see you guys. I have missed seeing your faces for the last month, actually, it feels like. So, welcome to our second round of Live at Thrive. Welcome all middle schoolers. And if we have not ever met, if this is your first time ever with gathering students or to Thrive or checking out Live at Thrive on our YouTube channel, we're super, super glad you're here. My name is Martin Leathers. I'm the Gathering Students Pastor here at the Gathering, which just means that I'm the guy who gets to do the fun stuff with our middle schoolers and high schoolers, like Live at Thrive. So I'm super glad you're here, especially if it is your very, very first time. So a couple things real quick that'll be really, really helpful. First of all, on what we do, we're going to be doing this for a while, I think it looks like, at least the next couple weeks. And so my just request is, if you want to be able to get here really, really easy, right here is our I'm Getting Better at Pointing, our YouTube channel. Subscribe, and this is where we'll always be for the next couple weeks. And then again here, find us on Instagram. We're going to be doing things throughout the week. In fact, actually tonight we're going to have some stuff for following up on, so you should follow us there. But the last couple things are, two, if you have a comfy pillow, I don't know what you're sitting on right now, how comfortable your seating arrangement is, but if you have a comfy pillow you like to snuggle with or something that you like to, it's just really soft, I would grab it and sit on it tonight. It's going to tie in later. I'm sitting on a pillow right now, actually. I've got my shoes off. It's comfy church. But go ahead and grab a pillow because we're going to connect that to our conversation later. And then just real quick, this is the thing we do before every Thrive. We say three things to the people around us. So to the people right around you, no matter who that is, dogs, parents, siblings, that should be the only people in your house really. Just tell them three things. Say, hi, my name is blank. I'm glad you're here tonight, just alive on planet Earth. And three, you sure do look pretty tonight. So I'll give you 10 seconds. Find the people right around you and just tell them those three things. Hi, my name is blank. I'm glad you're here, and you sure do look pretty. Are you doing it? You should be doing it right now. You should be doing that. Also, in just a second, we're going to play a game, and you're going to need your phone for that game that has a camera and can text. So if you're watching this on your phone, I suggest you find some other screen potentially to watch this on, or just be ready to screenshot something because our game is going to involve sending pictures. So, really quickly, before we go any further, one of the things that I've said from the beginning of Live at Thrive is we want this to be a conversation. We want this to be interactive. So over in the chat, if you are had the chat open, I would love, we're going to do this every week, but just if you would type in one word how you are feeling today. Maybe you're feeling anxious. Maybe you're feeling exhausted. Maybe you're feeling bored. Maybe you're feeling exuberant and excited. And maybe you're feeling I don't know, sleepy. Maybe you're feeling full because you've eaten dinner. I would love to hear how you guys are doing tonight. So, creative. That's a good word. Okay, I can get behind creative. That feels like an exciting thing. Great. Okay. Come on, Megan, I like that. You can be great. Who else? How's everyone doing tonight? Well, as fabulous, happy. This is awesome. Cool. It's good to see you guys. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to, if you want to keep adding to that list, by all means, tell us how you're doing in one word, right there in the chat. I'd love to keep it going. But tonight, I said we're going to play a game, and here's the catch. We're going to play a game, and we are going to give away. I'm going to order a pizza to the winner of this game when we're done tonight. So when you hop into a core group, we're going to send a small personal pizza just for you with one topping to your house. So here is how this game is going to work. We've played it sort of at Thrive. It's called Bird Hunt. And this is where you're going to need your phone out. I said earlier you're going to need your phone to play this game. And so here's how this game is going to work. We are going to, with the game, we are going to shoot through a bunch of different screens, and different birds are going to come up on the screen. And every so often, there's going to be a bald eagle that comes on the screen. So if you have your camera out, the first person who can snap a picture of a bald eagle, no, not on this title screen, that does not count, but the first person who can snap a picture of a bald eagle and text it to me, when we're done, you have to text your name so I know who you are. When we're done, I am going to get online, go to Domino's, and I'm going to order you a personal pizza with whatever topping you want. So, friends, I've given a lot of explanation. I want to make sure I get everyone some time to get their phones out before we start this. Now, if you don't know my number, that makes sense. I haven't given that out. I'm going to do this right here. My phone number, if you want to write it down or type it into your phone, is 615-479-2801. So that's 615-479-2801. And again, the first person who takes a picture with a bald eagle in the frame and sends it to me at that number with your name will receive a Domino's personal pizza. So, with that being said, here we go. So there's going to come a time when a bald eagle shows up on the screen. If you can snap a picture of a bald eagle and you can send it to me at my phone number, the first person who texts me a picture with a bald eagle, that pizza's yours. Here's my phone. I'm ready. We don't need a quail or a sparrow or a duck. All of those are lovely birds, but they don't qualify for a pizza. We are about yes, Landon. A bald eagle equals pizza. Very good point. Let's see here. I'm seeing... Well, friends, we have ourselves our winner. I love you guys who aren't this person, but I have officially gotten my message from Lucy. You have a bald eagle in your picture. I love that. So, Lucy, here's what I need you to do. I need you to text me the address that it's going to be sent to and what flavor of pizza you would like. In the meantime, we're going to stop that there. Fortunately, friends, our time is up on the game, but we will have more of these, obviously, going forward. So, make sure we're all good to go. Yeah, so congratulations, Lucy. So we've said every week we want this thing to be a conversation. We don't want it to just be me talking. That's no fun. But this week is Holy Week, which means next Sunday is Easter. For all of you who don't know, Easter is next Sunday, and so we're not going to have Live at Thrive next Sunday. But we're going to talk a little bit about one thing that happened in this week leading up to Easter. So Easter, we know, is the day we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and we celebrate the resurrection after Jesus was crucified. 3 days later, he rose from the dead. Well, the night before he was crucified, he had this meal with his disciples, which we've just started calling the Last Supper. And so he got together with his best friends. This is a picture that Leonardo da Vinci painted. It's a pretty famous painting of Jesus and his very long-haired, strange-looking friends. And oh, Chandler, I'm sorry you didn't win. But we have this Last Supper, and so it's the night before Jesus dies. He gets all of his friends together, and they have this dinner together. And this is a really famous painting, but there's we've made updated versions of this. So we've got the Looney Tunes because that just seems way more fun. But same idea. We got Bugs Bunny being Jesus, and this got me to thinking that if you were going to have one last meal somewhere, if you knew this was going to be your last meal, what would you want if you knew it was going to be your last meal? If you want to hop on the chat, I would love to know if you knew this was your last meal, what would you want to be on your plate? And for me, it's a chimichanga with like a fried burrito. It's kind of like a heart attack with beef in it, and then covered and smothered in cheese sauce with lettuce and guacamole, and then some refried beans and rice on the side, and then some brownie batter for dessert because I love peanut butter brownie batter. Lasagna, okay. We made our first lasagna recently in my life, like homemade. It was weird. A Chipotle steak bowl. I like it. Who else? If you're at your last meal for the rest of your life, what are you prioritizing? You make sure you eat. Who else? What are we? Kraft macaroni and cheese. Okay. Chocolate souffle for dessert. Mia, I like that. Like that a lot. Personal one-topping pizza from Domino's. Guys, Chandler's being a little bit salty today, and I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about that. So, broccoli chicken curry casserole. Come on. Jonah, that sounds delicious. So we have this picture of this Last Supper that Jesus is eating with his friends, and cake. Yeah, Lucy, me too. And they probably weren't eating any of the things that we've named, although I love the idea of Jesus eating like Kraft macaroni and cheese. And it probably didn't look a whole lot, nachos from Qdoba, very good. It probably didn't look a whole lot like this table, actually. When Jesus sat at a table way back in the day, it would have looked like this. It was this table called a triclinium, which just meant tri like three sides, boom, boom, and clinium from the same word that we get recline from. So like instead of chairs, they would have reclined or laid down on the outside of this table on pillows. So I hope you are sitting on your pillow because we're going to try to sit here kind of like Jesus would have sat at his table. And so they would have sat around the outside of this, and where you sat was really important in the way that this worked. So there was kind of an order to how these seats were arranged. So the pillows and the seats were arranged from right to left. And here's how it would work. The host, who was the most important person, would sit in the second seat, and his assistant or like his best friend would sit in the first seat. That way, the host would get served first. So they'd lay down on their left arm, they'd take their food and pass it over their shoulder with their right hand to the next person. And so the host would get served first. And then the next person would be the guest of honor. That would be the person in the highest seat. And would just go down the line all the way to the end of the table where the servant would sit. With the servant who was kind of the least important person. And so which got me thinking, I don't know if any of you all are like this, but when my family gets together and we eat Thanksgiving, there's a very important arrangement to the seats. There's like a kiddie table, there's like the grandchild table, there's the adult table, and who sits like at the head of that table. So I'm wondering, when you guys have Thanksgiving, where do you sit? Do you sit at like the head of the table, or do you sit like at the grandkids table, at the baby table? What's your arrangement? I've just now graduated from the kiddie table, and I'm like 31 years old, which is kind of embarrassing that like I'm stuck there. And it's really still kind of the kid table. They're just like a younger generation, so we kind of have graduated a little bit. But where do you sit at Thanksgiving? Are you where's kids table? Never graduated. Jonah, that's good. None of us really graduate, I think. Like until the sad thing is like the only way we graduate is if like, you know, some people aren't around who are older. Middle school, high school table. Okay, that seems good and fair. Where else? Where's everyone else sit? Well, as those come in, we'll kind of get back to that. But I want to go back to this picture real quick because this is important. So this is the last meal that Jesus is eating with his friends. And the way the people are arranged is really important. So Jesus is throwing this meal, so he's the host. He's going to sit in that second seat. And the first spot is going to go to the disciple John, who was kind of like Jesus' best friend of the disciples. Like Jesus, at one point, John's described as like the beloved disciple. And so John's going to be his assistant, his best friend. He's going to serve Jesus first. Now it gets interesting because in the spot of the servant is Peter. And Peter was like the big deal. He's the one who walked on water. He was kind of the teacher's pet of the disciples. He did everything right and everything wrong. And you'd expect Peter to be in one of the first couple of pillow spots because he was like a big deal. And yet, in the way the story's told, it says Peter had to yell across the table to get Jesus' attention. You don't have to yell if you're sitting right next to Jesus. And as the story goes on, we find out that Peter was supposed to do some of the servant tasks. So Peter is at the end, which is interesting because right before this, Jesus had been teaching the disciples that in the kingdom of God, if you want to be first, you need to become last, and the last shall be first. Which makes this next thing the most interesting thing about this table. Because the person that Jesus serves, which means that they were in the spot that was reserved for the guest of honor, was Judas. Now, if you don't know the story, a couple days before this meal, Judas had gone to the authorities who wanted to find a reason to kill Jesus. And he said, if you give me enough money, I'll turn him over to you. If you give me enough money, I will betray him and I'll tell you where he's going to be and you can arrest him and then you can kill him. Jesus reserved the seat for the guest of honor for the one that was going to betray him. He didn't save it for the disciples who got everything right. He didn't save it for the best disciples. He saved it for the one who'd betray him. It's as if Jesus was saying to Judas, Judas, I want you to know more than anybody else here that I still love you. And I'm going to hold you closer than anybody else because you're probably the one who's thinking, I don't belong here at this table the most. And so here's the question. Because I imagine when Judas went to this meal, he did not feel like he belonged. And so my question for you all is, when has someone invited you to join them when you didn't know anybody, when you didn't feel welcome? Who is someone that has invited you to join them the way that Jesus invited Judas? For me, it's this guy named Sam Rogers. When I was in, by the way, put this in the chat. I'd love to know who someone who's invited you to join them is. But for me, it was this guy named Sam Rogers. And like 3 days before I started middle school, my family moved from California to Tennessee. I didn't know anybody on like that entire half of the country. And so I went to orientation because luckily there was like the 6th grade orientation. And I got to talk to, I sat at a table before anybody else got there. I didn't know anybody. And this big kind of husky guy just moved over and sat down next to me, and he's like, I don't know you. And I was like, I don't know you either. And his name was Sam Rogers. We became friends that day, and for the rest of middle school, he was one of my best friends because he just invited me to sit with him. So who is someone that's invited you to sit with them the way that Jesus invited Judas to sit next to him? It doesn't have to be at a table, by the way. Maybe you were going to something, you knew you weren't going to know anybody, and so someone said, hey, you can come join us. You don't look like you know anybody. Well, as those are coming in, here's what I want everyone in this Live at Thrive to know. That seat that Jesus held for Judas is the same seat that Jesus holds for us. So the moral being, there is nothing we can do, no distance we can run away from God, or no distance things we can do to separate ourselves from God where Jesus won't say, I've got a seat for you. And it is the seat for the guest of honor. That's how this kingdom of God thing works. Like, the further you feel away from God is the closer that God is pulling you. I love the way that Jesus teaches a lesson with how he arranges the table. But here's the funny thing. If Jesus is going to invite us to sit at the table, then that means that we are called to invite other people to sit with us at the table. That's how this table arrangement works. Is if we are invited, then that means that there are other people around us who need to be invited. There are other people who need to know that they are loved, that they are welcome. So the question is, are you the kind of person who welcomes newcomers? Are you the kind of person who sees someone who feels left out and invites them in? Or finds the people at your table and says, we're good here. We don't need anybody else. Because it would have been really easy for Jesus to say to Judas, you can go sit at the servant table, or at the servant seat. You don't belong here. And it's like Jesus needed Judas to know more than anybody how much he belonged there. And here's the last interesting thing about this arrangement. The person in the servant seat, one of their jobs would have been to wash the feet of the other guests. And you know what Peter doesn't do? He doesn't wash anybody's feet. Jesus washes everyone's feet. Jesus, the host of the party, the most important person there, gets some water and takes his clothes, takes off his shirt, and starts washing and drying the feet of the disciples. That's what it means to follow Jesus. It means that we are called to love our neighbors, and sometimes it might hurt us a little bit. We're going to talk about that in core groups. Like, what is something that you can do that means that you become a little bit less so that others can become a little bit more? How can you serve your neighbors in this social distancing time that we find ourselves in? So friends, before we head off to core groups, just a couple of quick updates. So if you want to know what's going on with gathering students, there are a couple of easy ways to do that. First, text that at GUMC-STU-MS to that number 81010. It's the best way to get updates. Or again, right there on Instagram and here on YouTube. We'll be here every week, except for next week because of Easter. Those are the best places to find out what we're doing. And then we've said that every week we want to have a Live It Out challenge. We want to have a challenge where we are living out the stuff that we're talking about, where we're not just talking about it at Thrive or core groups, but we believe that faith is something that we ought to live. And so this week, just like Jesus served Peter, he did something that maybe was uncomfortable, kind of inconvenient, and he served the disciples. He became less so he could lift others up. So we don't have actual ideas this week. You're going to talk about that in your core groups and brainstorm. Maybe you all do the same thing. You all commit to taking on the same challenge, or maybe you're doing something totally different. Maybe you all do different things. That's okay. We're going to post in our Instagram story a question. How are you living it out this week like Jesus served the disciples? And I'd love for you to share your ideas. And then lastly, if you are an 8th grader and you want to learn more about what it means to follow Jesus, what this whole Christianity thing is, what is the Bible, why does it matter, how does God fit into my story, and how do I fit into God's story? If you didn't do Explore in the fall, we're going to do it again starting the week after Easter on Thursday nights. And it's just 3 weeks where we're going to ask the questions, what does it mean to follow Jesus? What does it mean to serve our neighbors and to be part of God's story? It's going to be 3 weeks, again, starting on the Thursday after Easter. If you're in 8th grade and didn't do it in the fall, we'd love to have you join us. And the last thing, we're going to say this every week, but Thrive is great. Live at Thrive is awesome, but we are here because we want to lead to what's happening next. And so just below here are links to all of the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade core groups. They're our chance to connect, our chance to check in on each other. How are you doing? We're going to play some fun games over the course of the next couple of weeks. We're going to make the best of this social distancing time we have. But here's my request is to hop into there. And maybe you haven't been for a long time, or maybe you haven't ever been to a core group ever, and it feels totally intimidating. That's okay. Hop in anyways. There's some awesome leaders, some awesome people. They want to know how you are doing. It's a place to be real, to check in, to laugh, to have fun. So by all means, hop into those core groups. And Lucy, your pizza is on the way. I won't see you guys again for at least 2 weeks. But until then, love you guys. And I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks and when this is all over. Until then, I'm out.